Hi, and welcome to my LinkedIn soapbox for property investors and real estate investors, et al., and everybody, because it is so relevant. In this video, I want to talk about why, as a property investor, you might be burning potential vendors and potential cash investors. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you why property investors are wizards, and you need to be very careful with the muggles when you're handling muggles. In fact, this is an ongoing topic and coaching sort of focus I have with my property investor clients. Because like a lot of businesses and industries, but I think especially as property investors, you're wizards. We are wizards. We understand a lot of magic. We understand a lot of stuff about our industry and what we're looking to do. But before I go any further, I'd love you to hit the subscribe button, because then I can keep you notified of further videos that I'm putting out each week. And ask me anything you want to ask me in the chat. I have a personal rule. I will personally reply to any comments or any questions. I say, as a business coach, that I don't care what you think about me. I have been called a wizard, but I care about what you go away and do. And so each of these is something that I want you to be able to do. You'll see below the comments, there's certainly some free downloads. I keep referring to my LinkedIn Mastery for Property Investors online program there, because LinkedIn is magic and there is so much opportunity for you as investors around the world. But let me bring it back to why I think we're wizards. I get involved with coaching and training a lot of new investors, people coming in to the investor training market from maybe a real job, maybe employment, maybe corporate world, maybe public sector, but also people with other businesses. And when you start to look at investing, you will know things like purchase lease options, like BMV, below market value. In the UK now, we've got SA, serviced accommodation. You've got HMO, houses and multiple occupation. We've got so much terminology, which you have in other businesses, but actually how you can source deals and how you can creatively finance them. I sold my old house twice. In 3 years, I sold it on a purchase lease option to a family. It was their dream home, and they were renting it from me. I'm paying extra towards the purchase price in what could have been anything up to 5 years' time. 3 years down the road, their lives radically changed. They didn't want it anymore. They gave it me back. I put it on the open market and sold it. You know, people outside of property investing won't understand that process. They are muggles. And the interesting thing is, muggles do not know that wizards exist. And as wizards, if you follow the Harry Potter story, from what I've seen of it, is, you know, you're not allowed to tell muggles that you're wizards. And one of the best examples of this was my niece came to me. She said, I'm thinking of buying a house. I want to invest. And she's a police officer down in London. And I said, let's have a conversation. We had an hour's conversation around, what are you looking to do? Well, I'm thinking of buying somewhere abroad. Really, do you want abroad or do you want in the UK? I probably want in the UK. Let's talk about the rental market. How are you going to fund it? I'm going to save up money. How long is that going to take you? And I started talking about buying other people's money and buying below market value and refinancing. And then we talked about houses and multiple occupancy, letting the rooms rather than the house and getting a higher yield. And at the end of an hour, I said, how's that been? She said, my mind is absolutely fried. It's buzzing and flying and fried. I said, I know. You have had an hour at the entrance table to Hogwarts, and we've talked about some spells. I like to think I might be further up some of the tables. Will I be on Dumbledore's table? I don't know. Do I have a lot of spell books? Yes, I've got some super grand wizards around me in my network who are even sort of more experienced wizards within property investing than me. And I said to her, you and my niece, you have sat down at the table for an hour and we've had a look at a simple spell book. And she said, yeah, I understand that. I said, but what you have to be very careful of now is, if you go back into Civvy Street and you go back into your police station in London, and you start talking to your colleagues about what we've just talked about, they are going to think that you're mad, that I must be a con artist, that it can't possibly be true. It must be a fix. It must be immoral or illegal, or because they are muggles, they will not understand. So promise me you won't try and talk to the muggles about the magic that you've just learnt about. What I see so often with property investors is, especially those that if you're trying to go and buy a house from a vendor, is they start talking about creative strategies straight away and start talking about terminology. They start talking about PLOs, purchase lease options. And then the muggle goes and talks to their solicitor or does something who also, unless they're very specialist lawyers, can also be a bit mugglish. That's all sounds a bit confusing and scary and weird. And I've lost deals, and I've known plenty of people who have lost deals from vendors because they've jumped in with all their wizard speak and wizard stuff, and they've scared the muggle. And also, same thing with borrowing cash from people to invest in your deals. People have scared them away by talking about high rates of interest. And when I coach people, I talk about talking about first to understand what the investor, the cash investor might want. And this is so relevant to your LinkedIn profile. I've had investors that have started to talk about the deals and how much money they make on a deal on their profile. And I say, actually, if you're going to talk to a muggle investor, they're not interested in property at the beginning. They're interested in getting a better return on their money. And then you've got to find out from them. I have a great mantra. I talk about this a lot more in the LinkedIn Mastery for Property Investors online program about how to position it. Because there's two things. You might scare somebody off if you start talking big returns compared to mainstream investments. Secondly, if you give too much and you talk about the investment, you might have somebody think, oh, I'm going to do it myself. And so you're scaring off potential cash investors. And I've seen so many property investors burn and scare off. I did it in the early days. I remember talking to a retired paratrooper about his pension. And I said, he said, I've been eating into my pension and it's worrying me. And I said, I could give you up to 10% on your pension. How'd you do that? Well, this is what I do and this is what I do. And I never heard back from him. And I realized that it was too good to be true in the mind of a muggle. And so they run off. And so you need to be very, very careful that you do not burn vendors and deals, and that you do not burn potential cash investors who could invest in you. And the art is how to position that, especially in your profile. And the reason I bring it back to LinkedIn is because you can leverage your time by getting to these people and saying, do you want a conversation? So not only be careful of burning them too much with talking to them, but also in what you're putting out there on social media and on LinkedIn. And if you're serious about this, I've just had an investor who's turned around. I've been doing some work for him on his LinkedIn activity of going out there to connect with potential investors and business owners who might lend him money, and messaging his existing connections. And he came back and said, somebody has come to me. I've been connecting with them. I would never have thought of communicating with them. And they now want to lend me and invest more money than I've ever imagined. It's going to radically change my life and my property investing. So be very careful. Learn to know what to say on LinkedIn, how to position your profile. Have a look at some of the other videos I've got here. Have a look at the 9 points to creating a profile document. And if you're serious, click and buy my LinkedIn Mastery for Property Investors. I'll say this to you, if you find me through YouTube, when you do that, I will see it, but then message me and say, hey, I bought it because I saw you on YouTube, and I will give you unlimited access, email communication access while you go through that program. And at the end of it, let's have a call and look at what have you done, how well have you written things, how clear is your plan on what you're going to do with LinkedIn, because we're in the golden opportunity and a golden age, not just for property, but to utilize LinkedIn as well. Everyone's forced online. There's a massive surge of activity. There's so much opportunities there to be had. So click subscribe. Let me keep you updated with other videos. Ask me anything you want to ask me here, and just learn to become more masterful with LinkedIn, with your activity, with your marketing, with your property business, and become more of a wizard as a property and real estate investor. And I look forward to hearing from you.